Welcome, everyone, back to Studio Day Heffrey as opposed to Living Room Day Heffrey, where we have a prop-up microphone. Tony La Russa sucks. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys. So I asked you guys yesterday to leave in the comments what you wanted to hear about today, and I did get a number of questions from you, so I appreciate that. And we will start with my guy Christopher, who said, "Hey, Jeff, love your stuff. Keep it up," which is a great way to get your question read. Compliments. I like them. Are you concerned at all about Kelvin Joseph's conditioning or lack of, and what is his height? Because Barry Church is concerned that he shouldn't be outside because of 5'11" frame. First of all, Kelvin Joseph, your second-round pick out of Kentucky, is 5'11 and a half, so he's plenty tall. I got to be honest with you. A couple of things that I don't love about the Cowboys. I don't like cover three, and I don't like huge corners. So this will be an interesting draft and interesting to see how Dan Quinn is going to play this, because I think in the NFL, most of the great receivers are now around 6 foot, and most of the great corners are around 6 foot, yet we're chasing after these mythical giant creatures that we don't necessarily need in today's NFL. Now, and I do understand the thinking. The thinking is, well, the idea is to take away windows on a football field, right? Dan Quinn, over the last 5 years, has run about 75% of either cover three or cover one, so having a free safety and then having your two corners that can bail to take away a third of the field. And the idea would be, makes it harder to throw. I've got condors, pterodactyls out here. But I am a bigger fan of like the Rams defense, where you have a safety who has half the field on each side. We can go into deets on that on another day. John Owning did a great write-up of Dan Quinn's defense and what he thinks it'll look like. But I'm not a huge fan of the 6'4" corner, because I think it's rare that they work out. Richard Sherman did, and that's awesome. I would much rather my corners be 5'11 and a half than 6'4". Because generally speaking, when you're 6'4", it's hard to go side to side. It's hard to mirror when it's time to play man defense, Amari Cooper. You know, it's just hard to do that, because when you're taking a step, it takes you longer than it does somebody who is smaller than you, and now you got to make that up. But that's the interesting balance in the Dan Quinn thing, because I think Dan Quinn is a good coach. I think he's a smart coach. I also am not a big fan in today's NFL of running the defense that he's going to run. So they're going to have to figure that out. And here's another thing. Do I need to use my TikTok bed when I get fired up about something? No, I don't. We heard about Micah Parsons in the rookie OTAs rushing off the edge a little bit. When will he do that? Because Dan Quinn's history, much like the Dallas Cowboys' recent history, is blitzing about the least in the NFL. It's been the Cowboys under Richard and Marinelli, and that's been Dan Quinn's history too, blitzing about as little as anybody. So does that mean that Micah Parsons will be lining up as a defensive end to rush and not as a linebacker? I don't know. These are just the interesting things I think about with the Cowboys defense on a random Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Oh, I need Jeopardy categories for 420 today. Leave those in the comments. I need Jeopardy categories. But no, Kelvin Joseph's height doesn't concern me. Could he play the slot if you wanted him to, if Nashawn Wright turned out to be really good too, and you could have Diggs, Wright, and Joseph on the field? Yeah, I think Kelvin Joseph is capable of doing that. But I think Kelvin Joseph is really good at playing cover three on the outside, even at 5'11 and a half. I don't care. I think he can play cover two, cover three. He can play man. He's good at reading routes. He's good at locating the football. Kelvin Joseph on tape is a really, really good player. So I'm not concerned about Kelvin Joseph. And the conditioning stuff, it's hard because I wasn't there. So, like, I love Brian Broaddus. He's my guy, at Brian Broaddus on Twitter. He's my coworker on 105.3 The Fan. He's my scouting dad. And if he thinks that on the first day of OTAs it looked like he could have been more ready, I'll grant him that. But I haven't seen him, so, like, I'm not going to kill his conditioning or anything like that. We'll see. Michael Garrett says, great content. I'd like to hear more of the offensive line and defensive line. Are we set with current players? Will we possibly pick up any June 1st cuts? And could there be upgrades for backup guard / center or sign Looney? I do think on offensive and defensive line, the Cowboys are set. You never know what's going to happen if you have a position of weakness and somebody else has a position of strength, and if you're going to make some trades. But on the offensive line, you think, And left guard, who knows, right? Could be McGovern, could be Williams. But for the sake of argument, let's say it's Tyron Smith, left tackle. Connor Williams is your left guard. Tyler Biotic is your center. Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, right guard, right tackle. That gives you 5. And they'll keep somewhere between 8 to 10. Josh Ball, Inseki, the swing tackle they signed. Connor McGovern, Brandon Knight. The coaching staff likes Terrence Steele. I think you're okay on the offensive line. I don't think that you're in the market. And if you are, yeah, Joe Looney, I believe, is still sitting out there, so you could bring him in if you needed to. But they've got, right now on the roster, 4 backup tackles. They got the Nebraska kid that they drafted. I think they're set on the offensive line. And a defensive line, I think they're set as well. Here's your defensive line. Now, this is what they're listed as on the Cowboys website. A defensive tackle, you have your 6th-round pick, Bohanna, the giant man, the real-life one technique. You have Oso Digizua. You have Neville Gallimore and Tristan Hill. Then guys who may or may not make a roster, Justin Hamilton and Austin Fowliu. Sorry if I screwed that up. Defensive end, Tank Lawrence, Randy Gregory. They have Brent Urban listed as a D-end. They have Terrell Basham, Chauncey Golston, Carlos Watkins. And I would point out that Carlos Watkins and Brent Urban, who are listed as defensive ends on the website, they'll, I believe, be playing D-tackle as well when you have 4 down linemen, which you will a lot because you run nickels 75, 80% of the time. And that's without mentioning Bradley and Dorrance Armstrong, Rondell Carter. So while these names may not set your pants on fire, I do believe they have enough and that they're young at these spots. And so I don't think that they're in the market for any of those things. Now, here's the one I liked. Matthew, are you required to say good things about these Cowboys draft picks? If so, I understand your point of view. But what are you going to say if these players don't work out? No, I'm not required to say good things about these draft picks. It's really funny because, like, on the radio side, other radio stations will, like, make promos where it's like, they're in Jerry's pocket, or they're what? If Jerry were going to cut me a check, I'd take that check. I would love it. That'd be incredible. The idea that we are passing on what Jerry wants to be said or being optimistic for no reason is so stupid. It's so dumb. And it is so not true. I mean, we openly campaign for the Rangers owners to sell the team, and we're the home of the Rangers. We openly talk about how the Cowboys organization is run wrong at the top, and we're the home of the Cowboys. So, no, I'm not required to say good things about the draft picks or the Cowboys. I believe, unlike a lot of broadcasters, in just being you and just being honest and giving your opinion. So, like, if you were going to go through the Cowboys draft and say, hey, Jeff, did you like that pick? Their first pick, I would say, nah, it was okay. Parsons is an okay pick. I don't love the idea of picking a linebacker that high. I wish they would have taken Rashawn Slater. Second pick, Kelvin Joseph. I think it's good value. I acknowledge the risk of it, but I am a Boss Man Fat fan. I think that dude can ball. So Kelvin Joseph, I got no problem with that pick. Odigizua and Golston, I thought both might have been a little early. I like the players, but I thought it was a little bit early. I hate that my guy Marvin Wilson at Florida State had both knees flagged medically, so he went undrafted. I would have loved to have had him on the team. When they picked Nashawn Wright, I wish they would have taken Ifeatu Melifonwu or Elijah Molden. I wish they would have taken Jabril Cox sooner, and then you could have just taken Wright later, and on and on and on and on and on. So what am I going to say if these players don't work out? That they didn't work out. Like, that Dan Quinn made a mistake, because a lot of these are Dan Quinn picks. But yeah, I think the Cowboys, to me, their draft haul as a whole, when you had 11 picks, you look at what they were able to accomplish in terms of loading up their defense for the future. And I go, yeah, it's a pretty good haul. You had 11 picks. It should be a pretty good haul. But when you go through it pick by pick by pick by pick, I don't love what they did with quite a few of the picks. Let's see. Avery said, I saw a UFO flew right over my house. It was a big triangle one with red lights. It was going about 35 miles an hour. I showed it to my wife. Now she does not remember it. Weird. That's from yesterday. UFO questions. I think UFOs would go faster than 35 miles an hour. You guys pointed out something really smart, by the way, that I never thought of. Because, again, I'm really dumb about a lot of subjects. The idea that these UFOs are drones, and that's why we haven't seen aliens. Interesting point by you guys. Interesting point. Jeremy, can we just be honest here? Dallas reached big time and picked blah players way too early. Parsons and Cox were steals, and I like Mukuamu. Osa and Chauncey and Wright aren't going to be anything other than bodies. Well, those are third-round picks, and so your odds of hitting a third-round pick and finding an NFL starter are way under 50%, so the odds are with you. But I think Osa and Chauncey Golston will be 4-year contributors for the Cowboys. Osa at some point will probably start. Chauncey Golston, I don't know if he'll be a starter, but I think both Osa Odigizua and Chauncey Golston are going to have 8 or 10-year NFL careers. They're going to be contributors. Deshaun Wright's the wild card. I do think he's developmental. The early returns that people are talking about is good, but I think he is a developmental guy, so we'll see. Austin said, hey, Jeff, seeing Kelvin Joseph in that 24 jersey got me thinking, who did you prefer as a prospect, Awuzie or Bossman Fat? I had Cheeto as a 4th-round guy, and I had Kelvin Joseph as a 2nd-round guy, so I preferred Kelvin Joseph. Awuzie was interesting because he was kind of playing that slot safety/corner thing in college, and so I didn't think he was a great man defender. He's probably been a better NFL player than I had him ranked as, but Bossman Fat would be my answer. Buttery Tortilla says how Simi looked. He seems to have a very high ceiling. And check it out. Interaction in the comments. Leadfoot said Isaiah Stanback. He said he looked raw. Routes need work. Couldn't get separation from Deshaun Wright. Reminded him of himself, Isaiah Stanback. Simi Fehoko he's a developmental receiver. I think he's going to make the team because he's going to be a special teams demon, but he's a developmental receiver because what he was asked to do at Stanford for the most part was run down the field. So when you have a tall guy, but he can run fast, separation is something that you got to develop. The ability to run a complete route tree and be precise with those things and find ways to separate from defenders, that's something that has to develop. So I think he's a developmental guy who maybe at some point during the season can be a guy that comes on the field to try to help stretch the field. But I think he's a special teamer that you're basically developing this year. This guy said their drones sent here similar to what we do with other planets. Their drones are just more sophisticated than ours, more alien stuff. And Jeremy, I missed the random questions at the end of your videos. That's what I want. Oh, I was thinking that other people, because you just have to leave them. YouTube.com/Jeff Cavanaugh. You have to leave them in the comments if you want random questions. But I did used to ask a random question, didn't I? All right, today's is in the comments. What's your favorite appetizer? Mine, of course, is mozz sticks. I like the mozzarella stick. But you tell me, what's your favorite appetizer? Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everybody, and I love you. Goodbye.